What's going on, guys? So today I'm doing another follow-up on the Telegram story and the arrest of Pavel Durov. And I also want to relate it to another story that just came out this week that relates to the EU. So we're going to go into that. We're also going to talk about is end-to-end encryption removed from Telegram? That's something that people have been reporting all over the internet right now. And you know, once a rumor gets spread, it goes far and wide, especially in the age of social media. So if you've checked out any form of social media, you've probably noticed people are saying that they have removed or halted end-to-end encryption for personal chats. Now, is this true? That's the question. We're going to take a look at the evidence and we're going to find out. So, has Telegram halted end-to-end encryption for personal chats, for private chats, really, is what I think they mean to say there. So if we go through here, what we can see is we can see that the frequently asked questions page has been changed. So they have something called a report button. Now before, they didn't make it as obvious on how to report something, and a lot of people don't understand how you can still have end-to-end encryption and a report button. Well, here's an example of how someone could implement a report button. I'm not sure of theirs. I haven't used Telegram in several years, so I'm going by what I remember and what I've been reading on. So with a report button, even in an end-to-end encrypted chat, doesn't mean that someone else is listening necessarily. You can have a report button that simply copies the message that you are hitting report on. So that doesn't necessarily break the end-to-end encryption, but it takes a copy of that message, and I'm sure it cryptographically verifies that it is a legitimate message over the end-to-end encryption. But as mentioned, I'm not saying use Telegram. I'm just saying, and there's a lot of hate out there, and I don't think it's all warranted, but I think there's definitely a lot to critique with Telegram, a whole lot to critique, and we're going to go into that as well. So I've got several articles up here. We're going to run through them, and we can see that they have added the report button and made it easier. At least they made it more clear on how to report something. Now, of course, I understand for PR purposes why they would change the frequently asked questions to make it more clear on how to report something. So, like I said, you could still have end-to-end encryption and a report button depending on how it's implemented. So if it's a report button that copies the message that you're reporting and is able to verify that it is a real message, well, then it could still be end-to-end encryption because it simply is an action one of the sides takes. So when you're between two parties on an end-to-end encrypted conversation, each side can see both sides because it's between you and the recipient. And on the other side, it's between them and you. So you could report their messages if there is a function in there to report it in this fashion. So just because the FAQ was changed doesn't mean that end-to-end encryption was removed. In fact, we can take a look at the FAQ right now. And when we take a look at the frequently asked questions, we can see they still have end-to-end encryption in the FAQ. So is it removed? Well, the only real way to find out is if you check changes to the code base. And so I do recommend, for those who do use Telegram, keep an eye on that if you're a programmer. And if you're not a programmer, keep an eye on the chatter that's going around on social media by developers and users of Telegram. You can see, but like always, I wait for the evidence. I'm not going to sit here and make up things that I can't prove, but I do give opinions. So part of my reporting on stuff, I do give my analysis, and we can take a look over here and see that when he was arrested, he did make a statement over on his personal X account. He disclosed he was interrogated by French authorities for 4 days and was threatened with personal responsibility for all illegal activities conducted by Telegram users. Now, we know this because I reported on it just last week or so. And the fact of the matter is, because the general chats are not end-to-end encrypted, well, that's a wide open gate for anyone who wants to collect all the information on the platform, because of the fact that they can have, of course, the private key. And when you have that, you can become something that is a little too easy to turn into a viable avenue, as it says here, rather than an impediment to intelligence collection. And is it a tempting target? I would say it is. It's very tempting, knowing that it's not end-to-end encrypted on most conversations, and that most users probably don't even realize their conversations aren't end-to-end encrypted. So you hear about Telegram, and a lot of people call it an encrypted messenger app. So people, in a general sense, are going to assume that everything is end-to-end encrypted. But it's not. The group chats, the normal chats are not. And you have to go through, I believe, 4 different clicks with your mouse before you can actually enable a secret chat. So when we look at the FAQ, we can see they still have end-to-end encryption. There's other concerns there as well. And Patrick Breyer, this is the other story, has brought out another story on Chatcontrol. Now, you can check out my previous videos. I've covered Chatcontrol a couple different times because it's really important that we cover these stories. And I'm covering them. I don't live in the EU, but it's important for the world, for all of us, no matter where we live. Because once a trend happens, and especially when you're talking in the corporate sense, when we have corporations that stand to benefit immensely when you're looking at artificial intelligence, which is a mass surveillance type of technology, and that's exactly what it is. How can you force the world to be under mass surveillance, in a sense, or under surveillance in general? Well, if you can create an industry and you can finance it to be integrated into everything, well, it collects all the data. So it's a surveillance technology. And others have mentioned this as well in the past, such as Meredith Whittaker of the Signal Foundation. She also mentions that AI is a surveillance technology, and that's fundamentally what it is. And if I were to see pushback and I wanted mass surveillance on the world, I can see no better option than to basically force the world to be in this artificial intelligence industrial revolution, this 4th industrial revolution coined by the World Economic Forum. And we can see that Patrick Breyer has gone and released this information, which just so happens to be shortly after the arrest of Pavel Durov. Does it relate? Well, they want AI to, of course, scan your messages. They want to have an AI that is scanning your messages before they're even encrypted. They say it's going to protect end-to-end encryption. But does it really? I mean, it completely defeats the purpose of end-to-end encryption, which is to keep it between the sender and the recipient. So no, it does not protect end-to-end encryption. It's really insulting the way some of these politicians and officials speak to us, saying that it's meant to protect our end-to-end encryption. But they want to use artificial intelligence to classify unknown images and text chats as suspicious. Well, that means that they want to watch everything. And anything that they haven't identified, they're going to mark it as suspicious. We're entering a world where if you're not giving your data, they're going to think you're suspicious. That is why, a mass movement for privacy is so vital. But also, there's always the solution of things like I2P, Tor network, LokiNet. These networks are important because they protect, they give us somewhere to go in a place in the world where we're at in history, where they want to literally have everything monitored fully. And they're doing the same thing with climate change. They're saying we need artificial intelligence to put everything under mass surveillance, to monitor carbon output, to monitor and regulate these kinds of industries, all to save the planet. Don't you know? Well, I don't know what to think about that, but what I do know is that every justification is being used, every possible justification is being used to integrate artificial intelligence into every single thing. It's not going to be long before people are trying to really push it into in a Linux kernel sense, if not already. Haven't kept up on that. But we can see the actual file that Patrick Breyer has uploaded, and you can see the proposals, the changes to the commission proposal are in bold and strike through. So you can scroll through this and look at that. There is the trusty tool, the master key to unlock and erode your rights. CSAM. We're all against it, at least anyone in the right mind is. I'm highly against it. But I do believe this is just another door, another master key, just like the war on terror, which is still going on, by the way, if you hadn't noticed. Benjamin Netanyahu wrote his book, The War on Terror, I think it was 1995, and he's been proposing for the United States to take action on governments in the Middle East since 1979 at least, historically. Well, it's been used to benefit, Israeli surveillance companies, of course. We know that. That is a big industry there. So, of course, yesterday was the anniversary of 9/11. And now we're seeing this new tool, CSAM. Because when you look at CSAM and how personal it is to people, especially if you have kids, this is something that people are willing to forego their rights for. If they think it's going to protect kids, they're going to give up their rights. Some people, not everybody. Obviously, I'm speaking out because I believe it's so vital that we continue to speak out, that we continue the conversation. Because once we stop talking, we allow other people to set the narrative. And that's the truth. If you look throughout history, when people stop talking about things, they just disappear from the conversation. So we have to talk about this war on encryption. And I do believe, as I've mentioned in the first report right after he got arrested, I do believe that his arrest is related to the crypto wars. And he was an easy target because of the fact that he didn't have end-to-end encryption. In fact, what could have solved the entire problem Telegram is having right now is if end-to-end encryption was rolled out on the entire platform. If it wasn't readable by Telegram themselves, general conversations and group chats, well then there'd be nothing to turn over. And of course, as I have to feel the need to mention once again, I'm highly against CSAM, but I have a solution for you. You don't need to put Chatcontrol into motion. You don't need artificial intelligence doing risk mitigation on us. You don't need that. You can do old-fashioned police work. Stop being lazy. That's the truth. This is lazy if honest at all. If it's even honest, it's lazy. Because we know sting operations work. We can fight this with sting operations. This is the kind of thing law enforcement should be, performing sting operations. I don't care if they put back doors in that kind of imagery or false imagery and that kind of content. Whatever, outside of everyone giving up all their rights, they should be able to do old-fashioned police work. Just because you have a tool doesn't mean you have to use it for everything. And that's what's happening with AI. We're seeing major corporations worldwide and banks financing this innovation, financing this artificial intelligence revolution, which is what it is. It is a revolution on the entire world. A revolution to fundamentally change everyone's way of life. And under the guise of protecting the kids, under the guise of saving the planet, rolling out artificial intelligence monitoring in every single system that we use in our daily life. And it's all to surveil. That's what it comes down to. It's all about collection. It's all about reporting. It's all about risk mitigations and assessments on every single message that we send that's supposed to be end-to-end encrypted. So to say that this type of Chatcontrol technology is going to protect end-to-end encryption, it truly is insulting. It's insulting our intelligence. It is just unreal that people are okay with this. And I even mean that. If you work in law enforcement, are you really okay with destroying your children's freedom in the future? Are you really okay with destroying what it is to be human? Because privacy is a major part of that. Your unique personality comes from your private thoughts. It comes from so many things that are being threatened by this technology, and it is surveillance technology. That is exactly what artificial intelligence is. And Meredith Whittaker said it as well at the Signal Foundation, that artificial intelligence is fundamentally a surveillance technology. And that's exactly what it is. So, as mentioned, it can serve as a viable avenue for intelligence collection. Well, is that why it was the target here? Well, I mean, obviously, like I said, if they had only implemented end-to-end encryption platform-wide, they probably wouldn't have seen this arrest, because he would have had no way to moderate. He would have had no way to even read the messages. But with the secret key, you can see it all. And here's an interview that was done with Matt Green, who actually teaches cryptography at Johns Hopkins University. And he's talking here as well about all someone needs is a TLS secret key. Now, if you look at an Onion site or an EAP site, there's a secret or private key. And if you have that, you can decrypt the data. And the same goes for TLS. And that's why with end-to-end encryption implemented, on, for example, on an Onion site, in this example, there is in your /var/lib/tor directory, you will find the secret key to your Onion site. And with that, if someone's able to access that, it's another reason to check your, the permissions and the read privileges on your system if you run an Onion site. It's really important to keep that private. You don't want others reading it outside yourself. And that's what makes end-to-end encryption. End-to-end encryption is only you control your secret key. There's no one else who has another key, no master key, which is the kind of thing. And it's really unreal to me that, they think people can be so naive. And I guess most people are naive, but I'm suspicious of AI. I'm very suspicious of it. I think it can be used for great things, especially like if it's able to, come up with, cures to, medical diseases, things like that. I think that's great. But it's not being used for that. And the fact is, this world is being financed. Innovation, it's no longer by chance, it's by finance. So the world that we're entering is different from the past world. The past world would be creativity, coming up with something that's in demand. That is what innovation is supposed to be. But now it's being forced, almost under dictatorial type of things, where they're financing it to such a degree that we don't really have a choice but to enter this world that they're creating. They're financing it. They're not doing what supply and demand would require. The masses of people are not crying out for AI to be integrated in everything. But that's exactly what they're doing. And it's all through finance. Follow the money, as people say, as such a cliche, but follow the money and you'll see. What the motivating factors are. And of course, as always, watch who benefits. Who benefits is always, as I mentioned in a recent video, who benefits from something is generally going to be the number one suspect, because, it's just obvious. In every crime, the suspect is the one who benefits most. And that's, if you're investigating those kinds of things, look for who benefits. So, as mentioned, end-to-end encryption is still listed in the frequently asked questions. And the only way to know if it's going to be changed is to check the code base. But does that mean it's all there? Well, Telegram is partially open source. Now, the server's not open source. So you can take a look at a couple different messaging apps and the differences here. So pause this if you want to take note of any of this. You got Signal here, you got WhatsApp, and you got Telegram. Now, another concern about Telegram is phone numbers. Now, Signal has phone numbers, but at least it's end-to-end encrypted, platform-wide or, protocol-wide. But Telegram does not have end-to-end encryption unless you go through a few steps to enable it. And really, it does, kind of make you wonder. I mean, is it something that should have been end-to-end encrypted platform wide from the beginning? I do believe it should have been. And it does kind of make you wonder, what was the reason not to? I'm not sure. But it certainly makes a great way to collect data, especially when most users think it's end-to-end encrypted. That's what I got today, guys. Make sure to like, share the video, and I will be back later with more on how to protect your security and privacy.